Well, hey, good morning, North Point. How are we doing this morning? It's a good day. It's a great day. Sun's out. It's a beautiful day in the Ozarks. Hey, I'm live in Springfield. Do me a favor. We are joining live with our other two locations right now. Springfield, can you help me welcome Nixa to church on this Sunday morning? Nixa, good to see you. And then also Republic, Missouri, live at 9. Good to see you all as well. My wife is in Republic right now, so she left this morning. She's like, well, I see you on the screen. I was like, all right. Hey, girl. She's probably sitting down that way. All right, focus. Sorry, I was thinking about my wife and just started getting happy. Love her. All right, what are we doing? Hey, before we get the message, I got a quick update to give on what we're doing with, we're going to make an adjustment to what we're doing on Saturday nights, our Saturday night gatherings in North Point. If you've been around North Point a long time, you know we've moved things around quite a bit, different locations and spaces and times to figure out what's the best way for us to build a church, reach people, et cetera. And so we've always looking at things to what we can do to adapt. And so, as you know, we're in a multi-site model. If you don't know, you've only been to one location. We've actually got 4 locations spread over 2 days in what we do and where we do our weekend gatherings. And so that gives us a lot of reach. It helps us reach a lot of people, but also, it does help us reach people. We do give backs. We're able to do community-specific things. We're able to impact Southwest Missouri in some really unique ways because of this multi-site model. However, there's also some complications with that. And it's a chosen model. We're not saying our way is the right way or the best way. There's lots of different ways to do it. A couple of the complications that we manage is certain things like, hey, preacher on a screen. You know, there's times I'm different places, and sometimes I'm just on a screen. Hi, Nixa. Hi, Republic. And have you ever had that moment where you walk in and you expected the preacher to be on the stage and he showed up on the screen and you rolled your eyes a little bit? I know you would never do that, right? But the reality is, preacher on a screen is our model and how we do it. And it works, it's helpful, but there's elements of that can be challenging. Another challenge is just the weight that it brings to our volunteer and staff teams to pull off 2 days of church back to back to back. You might not know this, but I was looking at it the other day. The number of volunteers it takes us to run a weekend at North Point is over 500. Across all of our buildings, across all of our locations, we've got 500 people who are serving in Kid Point, who are serving in production, who are working in the parking lot, who are doing all these things. We've got 500 people who step up to serve every single weekend to make it happen. It's pretty incredible. So there's that. Yeah, I think give it up. Yeah, I make my rounds every Sunday morning. I go back to Kid Point and high five all the people working. Anyway, people were making jokes about which is harder, taking care of the adults or the babies. I was like, I'm not going to get into that. It takes 500 people. So it's a big team. It does a lot of things. And so there's something we want to do on Saturday nights that help us kind of manage the tension a little bit of the spread that we have. Because when we hit the summertime, that spread gets pretty thin. And we got a lot of folks who are missing a lot of things, camping, all the things that happen over the summertime. So we're going to try something over starting in June where we're going to take our Saturday night service. And what we're going to do is combine our Springfield teams and our Nixa teams and combine and do Saturday nights in one location starting in June. So here's what we're going to do, and here's why we think it's going to work. That location is going to be at our Nixa campus, and I'll explain that here in a minute. So Saturday nights, 5 p.m., Nixa. Here's what that service is going to look like and why we think it's going to be a win. First of all, there's a couple things. One, it brings our teams together. We can bring the best of what North Point has to offer every Saturday night there. There's a couple things, too. It would be live preaching every week. We're always live, but it'll be in person, in the room, every single Saturday night in one place in Nixa down there. So we'll have live speaking. Our teams will come together. It gives us some bandwidth over the summer. We have a lot of people on that 500-person list that are burning the candle on both ends. They're serving Saturdays and Sundays to pull it off. And we just think we want to give them some breathing room to take some time off with their family, especially over the summertime, to ensure that we have a healthy team going into the fall. So we think it's going to be good for our team. We think it's going to be a great experience overall. We're excited about it. It's going to be a community building thing, and it's also going to free up some capacity for growth. The question I've gotten is like, well, why in Nixa? I'll give you a quick answer on that one. A few years ago, North Point rallied together and gave and donated to help build a building in Nixa. 2 years ago, the Nixa campus was about 600 people on a given weekend. Right now in Nixa, we are running, last weekend we had 1,400 people on Sunday in Nixa. And so that's awesome. So North Pointers gave and invested to create a safe place to find and follow Jesus there, and we are hitting capacity constraints in Nixa on Sundays that Saturday night helps us offload so that we can reach more people as a whole. That building is smaller, the classrooms are smaller, and so when that grows, we feel the pinch there a lot sooner than we feel it here in Springfield. And so giving that gives us an outlet for some Sunday morning folks to move into Saturday nights in Nixa. I see you, that's an invitation. And it frees up more space not just in our auditoriums, but in our kids' classrooms as well. Those kids' rooms are packed, they're small, and so we're trying trying to free up some capacity to make sure we can effectively reach the most people as possible over the summer. So that's what's coming starting in June, the first weekend in June, Saturday nights, 5 p.m., Saturday Night Live. It's going to be awesome in Nixa at 5 p.m., so we'll see you there. So the invitation to Springfield is we would love to have you come down to Nixa if you're a regular Saturday nighter. I think the experience will be worth the drive. Come check it out. It's going to be a fun experience out there. The other thing, too, I'm not going to lie, is when we're live multi-site, you guys probably don't know this, but I got this big clock in front of me that's telling me what second I have to finish talking on. Our worship teams have to finish on the second every time. It's just the nature of multi-site. Saturday nights, we're gonna have a little bit more flow, a little more space to breathe a little bit because we're not on the internet, we're not live. It's just gonna be church in a room. And so we're excited about that. I just think it's gonna be a good vibe and a good energy. So if you wanna come check out Saturdays this summer in Nixa, I invite you to do it. It frees up space on Sundays, and it's going to be a good thing and help us build community, build capacity, and grow into the future. The future is bright, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, let me switch into the message. I'm gonna make a hard shift. I'm not good at smooth transitions. I'm just like a hard shift type of guy. Let's jump into the message. We are talking about find and follow. I think this is week 5 on find and follow. We've been talking about what does it mean to find and follow Jesus through the lens of Scripture, where when people actually met Jesus in the Gospels, what did these interactions look like? How did Jesus interact with people, and how did they make that decision to follow Jesus? We talk about being a safe place to find and follow, and so using a template to say, what did Jesus do in these interactions to help us understand how do we build North Point going forward, and how do we personally find and follow Jesus in our own lives? So the passage we're looking at this week is John chapter 4. So John chapter 4, if you have your Bible, you can flip it open to John 4. If not, we have our notes in the app. We'll also have scriptures on the screen as well. So John chapter 4, we're going to talk about the story of the woman at the well. The woman at the well. And so I'm going to give you some background on how we get to the scene and why it matters, and then we're going to jump into the text. But in John chapter 4, Jesus and his disciples are on a journey. They are on a road trip. They're on a road trip. They're driving. They're not on a road trip. They're walking 85 miles on foot. And Jesus says, hey, I've got to go stop in Samaria. I have to stop in Samaria. And so they make a decision. He stops in Samaria, which is a little bit out of the way geographically, but it's way out of the way philosophically. Samaria is a place that Jews don't go. There is long-standing beef between the Samaritans and the Jews. They don't get along. There's a lot of history behind it, but it's one of those things we will go the long way to not have to go through Samaria. Jesus says, I got to stop and I got to go sit in Samaria. And so they go through Samaria, and Jesus pulls up a chair at this well. There's a well of water that people come to in Samaria, and he sits there in the middle of the day. His disciples go off to get food in town, and he just sits out here in the middle of a hot, dusty day in Samaria, sitting by a well. Significance of a well, sometimes you can just cruise through your Bible and not think about it. But in the first century, there was no plumbing. There was no running water. There was no faucet in your house. There was none of those things. Believe it or not, there wasn't Wi-Fi. There was no Chick-fil-A. None of it. It's tough times. Jesus is sitting by the well, and the well is where people came to get water. If you wanted any water in your house, you had to physically go out of your house and go to the well. Some towns had streams, but a lot of towns had a well that had been dug, and people would come out to the well and get their daily water. Whatever water your household needs, think about it now. If you got a teenager that's taking 45-minute showers, you got to go to the well to fill up your bucket to bring water back to the house. So Jesus is sitting by the well in the middle of the day. There's nobody there. And all of a sudden, this woman comes walking up with her bucket. She comes walking through the distance, and she's got her bucket. She's coming out to the well to get her fill of water, to get water for her house for the day. So Jesus is sitting there. He's like, I got to stop. I got to go. I've got a meeting. I've got an appointment. The middle of the day, by himself, a woman comes down the road with her bucket, and this is the one person that Jesus went out of his way to talk to. It's a quote that's one of my favorite quotes. Is St. Augustine said this, is that God loves all of us as if there were only one of us. We can look around and see a room and a sea of faces and a lot of people, and I'm just one person in the billions of people on earth. But God's love has the capacity to see the entire world, but love you as if there was only one. He sees this one woman walking down the street, walking towards the well, and he stops the entire world for the one, the way he stops the world for you. So the Samaritan woman comes walking down, and we're going to pick up this story in John chapter 4, verse 7 through 10. It says, a woman from Samaria came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, give me a drink. For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, how is it that you, a Jew, asking a drink of me, a woman of Samaria? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. And Jesus answered her, if you knew the gift of God and who is standing in front of you right now saying, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. Story is significant. It's the middle of the day for a reason. This woman is avoiding people. She's got a kind of a messy past, like most of us do. And she goes here in the middle of the day to avoid people. We'll find out more in a minute on that. But she's coming in the middle of the day to a place to be by herself, to see nobody. And she's like, why are you standing here? She gives him 3 reasons. She was like, you're a Jew and I'm a Samaritan. Why are you even talking to me? That's not what we do. And I'm a woman and you're a man. Back then in that society, this didn't happen. Men didn't talk to women out in public, and certainly not alone, and definitely not a Jew and a Samaritan. She was like, why are you here and why are you talking to me? The other thing is she's come in the middle of the day when no one comes to the well. We'll find out more about her story in a minute here, but she comes in the middle of the day. No one's here in the middle of the day. She came intentionally to not be seen, to not be known, to not see anybody that she knows. Jesus is the right place, but the wrong time. The well is where people gather in the morning and the evening. When it's cooler in the day, they would get their water in the morning or evening. This is the middle of the day. This is the right place, but it's the wrong time if you're coming to the well. You ever been to Andy's on a Friday night in the summertime? You know that drive-through line that like backs out onto the street and is causing traffic jams, right? It's the spot. The patio's popping. It's like you see your old friends. It's like Andy's in the summertime is like the well in Samaria. Like it is the spot to be. It was a gathering place. It's where you ran into people. It's like, let's go to the well. In the middle of the day, coming to the well would be like going to Andy's at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday in January. It's the right place, but that's the wrong time. You are not going to see anybody you know at the Andy's drive-thru at 8 a.m. in January. It's the middle of the day. She's coming to not be seen. She's coming to not be known. She's coming because she's organized her life around her shame, and she's trying to hide from people. You ever have a shameful season of your life? You're like, I just don't want to be seen right now. You kind of just ghost your friends. You disappear a little bit. That's what she's doing, but she runs into Jesus at the well, and he asks her for a drink, a physical drink of water, and then he starts to flip the conversation, saying, hey, if you knew who I was, this conversation would change. Let's pick up the story again. She says, you don't have any water to draw water with. What is this living water you talk about? In verse 13, he says this, Jesus says to her, everyone who drinks of this water, the actual water in the well, will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks of the water that I give will never be thirsty again. The water that I give will be in him, a water of life springing up to eternal life. I want you to hang on to that phrase. It will be in him. That Greek word will be in him or her, inside of you. He was saying you are going to an external well. You walked across town to get to a physical well to grab actual water. But if you drink of this water and you fill up your bucket, the same thing's going to happen physically. You drink water this morning, you're going to drink water again at night. At the end of the day, the bucket still leaks. And at the end of the day, you will be thirsty again. He's saying the water that I have, if you drink of it, you will never thirst. He's starting to flip this conversation from physical thirst and physical water into spiritual thirst and spiritual water. He's saying, I know that you're thirsty in your body. That's why you're at the well. We all get thirsty. That's why I have a bottle of water right here. I get a little parched sometimes when you talk as much as I do. I need actual water when I get dehydrated. We all get that feeling of physical thirst. I want you to think about times when you're thirsty, you crave water, your mouth is dry, you're tired, you're groggy, you just feel dehydrated, you feel dry on the inside. You're like, I've got to get some physical water. Jesus begins to change this conversation saying, I know you're physically thirsty. Your body is thirsty. But he's looking at this woman saying, you know what else is thirsty? Your soul. On the inside, you've got a spiritual thirst. And he begins to kind of tell her, like, I'm actually here to satisfy a thirst inside of your heart, inside of your soul, that no bucket and no well could ever fill. He starts to tell her about this spiritual thing that he has where he's going to begin to satisfy the spiritual need that she has. I know that you're thirsty physically, but I also know that your soul is thirsty. You ever have that friend who actually asks how you're doing? We all do the surface level. Hey, man, how's it going? Church lobby. I'm good. See you later. Then you have that friend who actually stops. He's like, no, man, like, how are you really doing? This is that conversation with Jesus. He's not letting her get away with a surface level answer. He's like, no, how are you really doing? What's really up with you? So this conversation goes from an inch deep to a mile deep pretty quick. And he's like, hey, something's going on. And if we're honest, we all get a little bit spiritually thirsty. We all get dry. None of us wake up with this like Ned Flanders, always happy version of Christianity. You know what I mean? You guys know who Ned Flanders is? The Simpsons? Come on, millennials, help me out. Heidly Ho neighbor, that guy? None of us have that. We all get these times in our life where we're dry and we're thirsty on the inside, just like this woman is. But he's offering this woman, like he offers you and I, a spring of living water welling up inside of us that gives eternal life. He's not offering her a better well or a better bucket. He's saying this: you came to a physical well, and where he's going to take this woman, he's going to say, hey, wait a minute. There's a choice you're going to have, lady. You can keep coming back to the well you've been coming to, or you can realize that I am a better well. In him, a spring of living water. There's something spiritually that comes alive. Jesus is not going after her physical thirst. He's going after the thirst of her heart, the dehydration of her heart that we all know. To me, it feels like when I'm down, when I'm depressed, when I'm anxious, when I'm frustrated, when I'm irritated, when I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep. There's something on the inside. I'm going to smile and say, I'm doing good on Sunday, but in the middle of the night, I'm like, I'm tense, I'm irritated, I'm agitated, I'm snippy. I know none of y'all get like that, but when I'm spiritually dehydrated, I get a certain way. Jesus is talking about what's going on in her heart, and he does the same thing to you and I. I put it in your notes like this: Jesus is always pursuing an inside-out transformation, and he always starts at the heart. Not what you're doing on the outside, good, bad, and different. How's your heart? How's your soul? How are you really? He breaks down the conversation with this woman and begins to get to the heart of the issue. So in John 4:15-19, the woman says to him, she's starting to go down this road with him mentally, and she's like, okay, sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty and have to come and draw water. And Jesus said to her, go call your husband and come here. The woman answered him and said, I don't have a husband. Jesus said to her, you're right in saying that you don't have a husband, for you've actually had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. So what you've said is true. You should hang on to that word. That's the truth about you. She says, sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. She's saying, yeah, I've got 5 ex-husbands behind me, and now I'm living with number 6, and I probably haven't sealed the deal because number 6 probably ain't going to fix what the first 5 didn't. She's got a past. She's got a story. She's got a reason why she's showing up at noon. She lives in a small town. She's got 5 ex-husbands. Now she's living with another. And she's living in this town where the theologians would say she was coming at noon because she was ashamed to see people. She had organized her life around her pain and her past and her shame. She's coming at noon to not be seen because the people that know her the best reject her the most. She's saying, you, sir, are a prophet, and you seem to know everything about me. She's starting to understand that Jesus is not talking about physical water anymore. She's saying this. She's looking at him, and she's like, you seem to know me. You seem to know me. And so she has this situation that most of us have. She's like, the people that know me the most actually shame me the most from my past, and that's why I'm hiding. But this person sitting out in the middle of the heat of the day at Andy's at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday when no one else is there, when she had an appointment, and he's like, hey, I know everything about your past. I know everything about your life, and I'm still here. Everyone else who knows you left. Everyone else who knows you shamed you. Everyone who knows the real you rejected you. But Jesus is sitting here knowing everything that she's ever done, like he knows everything I've ever done and everything you've ever done. And in the middle of her hiding, in the middle of her ghosting her friends, in the middle of her trying to hide in the shadows of the reality of who she really is, she goes to a place to be alone, and she finds God sitting there waiting for her in the middle of her mess, saying, hey, I know it all, and I'm not going anywhere. I put it in your notes like this: shame uses the truth to crush, but Jesus uses the truth to heal. Shame knows everything about your past. Shame knows what's in your DMs. Shame knows your Friday night. Shame knows that thing that happened when you were 15 that you're still thinking about 20 years later. Shame knows all of those things about who you really are and uses a voice inside your head to reinforce the lie that you're unlovable, that you're not enough, that you'll never be, that if they really knew, then they'd reject you. And shame does this thing that takes the reality, the truth of who you are, and uses it to shame you. Does anyone understand this feeling? Do you know what I'm talking about? Shame does something to us. But Jesus takes the same truth that shame uses. Shame says, you know what's true about you? And you're like, yeah, that is true. And it shames you. Jesus sits here at the well with this woman and says, hey, you know what's true about you? I'm here to heal that thing, and I know it all. You can't hide from me. You don't need to, because I want to have a real conversation about what's really up with you. I want to get past the physical surface level thirst and get down to the thirst of your soul and bring healing into that place that all of your life you have learned to hide, you've learned to seal away, you've learned to conceal, to put a mask up. He's like, I know that thing about you, and I'm still here. We serve a God that is grace is ridiculous. It is relentless. And he's showing this woman in that moment that he sees it and that he knows it. One of the greatest human needs is to be fully known and fully loved. Most of us are partially known and partially loved. And so we've learned over the years to show the sides of us that we think people will love. And so even when we're loved, we feel kind of iffy about it because they don't even really know me. God is the only one who knows you completely and loves you fully. And in this moment, that's what Jesus is doing. I used to read this where Jesus was kind of like this smart aleck and she was kind of a cynic. It's like, hey, well, show me your husbands, huh? I don't think that's it at all. What he's doing is saying, I want to show you how you're satisfying the thirst inside of you, and I want to give you a different way. What he's asking her to do, he actually names the bucket. I want to slow down here to make sure I nail this, because this is my sermon in a sentence right here. Jesus knows that physically she takes a physical bucket to a physical well to satisfy her physical thirst. What he's asking when he says, where is your husband? He's not using that to shame her. He's saying, I want to expose to you, you have a soul thirst, you have a heart thirst, and I want you to name your bucket. Your bucket is another husband. And the well you're running to is a well called wanted. And you've gone from bucket to bucket to bucket, saying, this time it's going to work. This time it's going to satisfy. This time I'm going to be appreciated. I'm going to be wanted. I'm going to be known. I'm going to be loved. But at the end of the road, she's sitting here saying, that one also didn't work. Let me try another one. Let me go this and let me try this one and say, all right, this time it's going to work. Will somebody love me? Will someone accept me? Will somebody validate me? I want to love it. I'm going to commit to this person. It's going to work this time. The well is being wanted and cared for and seen and loved. And the bucket that this woman has learned to use is called another husband. And as it doesn't work again and the well runs dry again, she realizes that yes, now I'm holding a bucket called a marriage that isn't working, but my soul is still thirsty because I'm looking for a man to satisfy and me a thing that only God can. Let me throw that bucket aside and go find another one. He's naming the bucket and naming the well that she's running to, saying, your husband is not another bucket, and I see what you're doing. You are looking to satisfy the need of your soul with something external. And he's sitting there physically next to the well saying, how is that working for you? This trail of buckets behind you, it's not working. You're still spiritually thirsty. And he sits here as another well that she can draw from, that you and I can draw from. When he says things later in the scriptures like, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. He's saying, stop going to an external thing to satisfy the need of your soul. I am another well for you to draw from to meet the deepest needs of who you are. I know you completely and I love you fully, and my grace is sufficient for you. It's the love of God that draws us to repentance, not better performance, not more religion, not better church attendance. When you encounter the love of Jesus and you are fully known and yet fully, relentlessly loved with all of your messes, it changes who we are. We begin to see Jesus as this well that we can drink from that we didn't even know that we had. She keeps going back to the well of wanted, the well of acceptance with a bucket called another husband. And so she's sitting there holding her leaking bucket, and Jesus is still talking to her about this concept. He's like, I know who you are, and I know where you're at. I know how you're really doing. The conversation continues, and if you read John chapter 4, I'd encourage you to do it this week. I can't hit it all in this time, but there's a back and forth. She says, well, where do I go? They have this conversation, if you know the scriptures, hey, well, the Samaritans worship on that mountain, but the Jews worship on mountain. Where do I go to get right? She's saying, you're right, I'm empty, but where do I even go to get right? Is it this mountain or that mountain? I'm not even accepted in this one or that one. Life has told me I don't belong in God's house. And Jesus has this quote in this passage that you may have heard if you grew up in church. He says, hey, the time is coming, the time has now come, that true worshipers will worship in spirit and in truth. What does he mean by that? It doesn't matter which mountain you go to, lady. The time is coming and the time is now that what God is really after is not physical outward performance, but a heart posture that says, God, I'm going to worship you in spirit, which means a spiritual internal worship of prioritizing and putting God in his place. I'm going to worship you in spirit and in truth. I'm going to give you my genuine, honest worship. And it doesn't matter if you're sitting here in Nixa, Springfield, Republic, or driving in your car on Tuesday, you can meet with God and get right and accept and receive his love any place, anywhere. Jesus is saying it's no longer about where you're going, but it's about what is going on in your heart. And so what happens in John 4, verses 25 and 26, the woman said to him, she hears this and she's like, I get it. I know what you're saying. You're right. My bucket is empty. You're right. I'm going to the wrong well. I don't know how to get this fixed. And she was like, it just feels confusing. And she says in verse 25, she says, I know that the Messiah is coming, he who is called the Christ. And when he comes, he'll straighten this out. When the Messiah comes and when the Christ comes, I know that when he's here, what he says will go, he'll straighten it out. She's like, what you're saying, sir, is too good to be true. You're hanging out at my well, you're loving me while still fully knowing me, and you're telling me that I can have access to God wherever I want. That sounds too good to be true. I'm going to wait for the Messiah to come to validate what you're saying because this feels too good. And Jesus says this, I'm it. You're waiting for God, you're waiting for the Messiah. He was like, you're looking at him. This is the first person in the Bible that Jesus explicitly says, I am the Christ. This is the first time that Jesus explicitly says and declares, hey, I am the Son of God. He doesn't do it in a church service, doesn't do it in a temple, doesn't do it with the priest, doesn't do it with the most clean-cut, good-looking people in town. He doesn't build a political campaign off of donors. The first time he actually admits to being the Son of God is to this Samaritan woman that the world had rejected, that has a messy past, that has a scary story. And he's sitting there saying, hey, you're the kind of person I came for, the messed up, the broken, the hopeless. Jesus is sitting there saying, you're it. You're why I'm here. To know you and to love you and to draw you closer to God. And so she has this scene in this moment where she says that she drops her jar. So she's sitting there holding her bucket of yet another husband, realizing that she can't get filled at the well of wanted or accepted through another person or another man or another relationship. She realizes, wait a minute, there's a different well I can drink out of. And it's not a bucket full of water. It's a person named Jesus who is the Messiah, who knows me fully, yet loves me completely. It says that she drops her bucket and runs back to town. The physical bucket that maybe she was getting physical water, she understands what she's saying, and she drops this need for affirmation from another person and says, I'm fully known and yet fully loved by the Son of God. I don't need to be affirmed by another person again. What? It unlocks in her. She receives the love of God, and it says she runs back into the city. She runs back into the city, not needing validation, not looking for another man, not looking for someone else to want her, to approve of her, because she's just realized that she's wanted and approved by God. In the deepest place of who she is, she drops her bucket and she runs back into the town. And the testimony that she shares when she goes back into town, she's like, come and see a person who told me everything that I've ever done. Everything you ever done is the reason why people reject you. Now she's in front of the same town that knew the truth about her and rejected her for it. And she's saying, the truth about who Jesus is has actually set me free. He knows everything about me and loves me anyway. This town is called Sychar. It's a town in Samaria, and historians say that Sychar was a nickname that the Jewish people actually gave that town. And Sychar, actually, the slang for it would be called like drunk town or liar town. Those are kind of the words they tie together. Like that town, a bunch of drunks and liars. You think about cities we know in that same vein. You think about Las Vegas, Nevada. What do we call it? What city? Sin City, baby. What stays in Vegas? Wait, what goes to Vegas stays in Vegas? I don't know. It's probably not true. What happens in Vegas, thank you, stays in Vegas. Clearly, I don't go enough. Sin City, Sychar. That's the town she came from. So she runs back into this town that the Jews had said, that's a town full of drunks and liars. That's where those people live. Who are those people in your mind? Those people. That's where those people live. She runs back into her town saying, this guy told me everything I ever did. I think he's the Christ. So she says, come and see, it might be the Christ. And so the scriptures say that what happened is there's a crowd full of people coming towards Jesus because they're like, wait a minute, he told everything about you. How many of there's probably some fellas in that town that were like, everything? Everything about you. This town, it says the town comes running out. The crowd comes out of Sychar back towards the well. And as the crowd of the drunks and the liars and the have-nots and the not good enoughs start coming towards Jesus, it's the first time he said that he's God. They're coming towards him. At the same time, his disciples come back to him. They're like, hey, what are you doing? What's going on here? And he has this whole passage with his disciples, and you may have heard this quoted before, but Jesus, as he's looking at this crowd of the drunks and the liars and the woman at the well, and he's looking at you and me, don't get too holy on me. He's looking at your life and mine, and he tells his disciples, the harvest is white. He's looking at the people, the Samaritans, the not good enoughs, the second-class citizens in the eyes of the Jews, saying, hey, this crowd of people, this is the harvest that I came to collect. This is why I am here. I am not here to impress the religious elite. I am here to come reap what another man has sown. He does this whole thing saying, I have come to find every drunk, every liar, every woman at the well. He came for you and for me. The harvest is white, and it is coming towards me right now. This, disciples, is why I am here. North Point, this is why North Point is here. Because there's a crowd of Samaritans that live in this community in Nixa, Republic, Springfield, and the surrounding areas of people whose shame has told them they're not good enough, whose past would say you're not good enough, you can't show up in church, you got to get clean before you get to God. And Jesus is waiting at the well next to your coworker, your neighbor, your friend, saying, I am the well. And in this season, as North Point continues to move forward, there is a harvest that will come and fill up every single one of these buildings of the down and outers who are far from God that will come near to God. And North Point was started to be an evangelistic church to reach lost people. That's what we will continue to do. The harvest is white, and there are women at the well all over this community and in the rooms right now that are coming towards Jesus that we have to prepare to receive, that we have to prepare to be the harvesters who come in and help people know and find a place to find and follow what we found, Jesus, who is a better well than where you are at. So today, there's one thing I could get you to take away. It's simply this. I want everyone in here, Republic and Nixa, to understand this. You have a bucket. You and I have a lot more in common with this woman from the well than we'd like to admit. We have a bucket. We have a thing that we do. We have a behavior in our life. We have habits. We have thought patterns. We have things in our life that we're using to go satisfy the deepest needs of our soul and our heart. And Jesus calls the same thing, like, hey, what are you doing with that? The bucket's not the problem. He's saying you're using a bucket to go to the wrong well. Jesus is saying, hey, you've got a bucket, and there's something that you can do with it. This lady had a bucket called Another Man and a well called Wanted. But this story is not about divorce. It's not about adultery. It's not about failure. It's not about any of the things that might be associated with what people thought her past was. This is about the human need to be fully known and fully loved. And Jesus is saying, hey, in order for you to receive everything that I have for you, to have open hands to receive the love of God in this season of your life, you have to let go of the bucket. This woman dropped the bucket. And so my question to you is simply, I have two questions as we come in for landing on this message. The first one is this, is what's your bucket? The second one is what is your well? What is your bucket? What is your well? Because we all have one. There's no one so holy around North Point that we've figured all these things out. We all have a bucket. I'll give you a couple of things that buckets that I run to. I know you think that I got this job because I'm the most holy guy in Springfield. But I got problems like you. I got a bucket called people pleasing. Maybe you share this bucket with me. The bucket of people pleasing says, I want to be everything to everyone to make sure everybody likes me. I want to be approved of. I want people to know me and to love me. I want to be liked. I want to make friends and influence people. And I want to make sure that I'm a version of me that everyone likes. And so I go to the well of acceptance from other people with my bucket of people pleasing. And I start to be one version of Drew at work, another version of Drew at home, another version of Drew with my buddies from high school. You'd find another version of me with my buddies in my fantasy football chat because I want to be funny. You'd find another version of me here, and then you're going to find Preacher Drew on the stage. All from a relentless need to be accepted with a bucket called people pleasing. I want you to be happy. And so what happens is you become a chameleon. You're one place here, one place there, one place, another place. And over time, you forget who you even are. Because you're trying to be everything to everyone through people pleasing. And Jesus is saying, hey, I'm not worried about the bucket. Let's call out what it is, but let's talk about not the what, but the why. Your bucket's the what you're doing. Jesus is like, we can deal with that, whatever, set it down, but let's talk about the why you're going there. I go to people pleasing because I want to go to a well of acceptance. I can try to be accepted by people with my bucket of people pleasing, or I can go to a different well of Jesus and say, do you accept me? And I can embrace the radical acceptance that Jesus has over me. And when that happens, I begin to set down the bucket, and y'all might not like me. My coworker I might not be their favorite coworker anymore. You know what I mean? I might actually get the acceptance of everyone else, but when I've received the radical acceptance of God, I actually don't care. And that becomes a freeing thing to say, wait, I'm accepted by God, and that's the audience I'm living for. I have another bucket that you might share with me called escapism. When I get stressed out, when things get busy, I start to escape the situation by doing stupid things like pulling out my phone screen. You ever get that? I get that phone screen, the screen time notification on my iPhone on Sunday mornings. I don't know if anyone else is on that schedule, but I'll be sitting in church and it's like, Drew, your screen time was up 78% last week, you know? I'm like, thanks, God. But I escape into my phone screen because I don't want to deal with the stress. And so the well I'm looking for is peace. I want peace of mind. And so my mind starts to race. I pull up my phone screen and doom scroll for an hour to get my mind off of the problem I actually have. Or maybe your escapism looks like going to the bottle. It's grabbing a nightcap every single night because now I can't fall asleep without it. And the thing that started as just taking the edge off has now become a dependency in my life. And the only way I actually find peace is reaching for the bottle. And we all know what happens with these things. It's never enough. And we have a string of buckets behind us, people-pleasing, escapism. I've had seasons of workaholism in my past because I wanted to perform well. And so I wanted security. I wanted to make sure I always had enough. And so I worked hard to get promotions. I didn't even want to do the job, but I wanted a few extra $100 a month. Maybe you've done that and you're in a place right now. You're like, I was chasing an extra $600 a month. And now I hate my Monday through Friday. And I'm doing something I hate just so I could have a well called security of a few $100s a month. And Jesus is saying, hey, how's that working out for you? Her bucket was another man. Let's not get too holy on it. Your workaholism, your escapism, your people-pleasing, whatever you got going in your life, Jesus is not judging you for the bucket. He's asking you this question, hey, set it down. Look at why you're going to that thing. And even if I'm saying that God's putting a bucket on your heart saying, yeah, that's what it is for you. Okay, that's what it is. The question not is what is your bucket? Now the second thing is what is your well? Why are you running to that again? I'd work side hustles, extra jobs, scrap because I wanted to provide for myself because I was my provider at the well instead of going to the Jesus sitting next to the well saying, hey, what are you doing? I am your provider. What do you want peace? You're going to find that on doom scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m.? Hey, I am your peace. He's saying, drop your buckets. My goal this morning is to get you to see two things. One, you have a bucket. Two, and you have a well. The well is either outside in, which requires more hustle, more grit. It requires other people. It requires people's praises. It requires someone else to do something to fill your bucket. And you're running to the well over and over and over again. And you wandered into North Point this morning exhausted. The inside out well that Jesus offers this woman, that he offers you and I today, is simply this: set down the bucket, let me be your well. Why are you running to that? That's the truth about who you are. But the truth is exposed. God always reveals what he wants to heal. And this morning he may be revealing something in your guts today. You're like, ugh, I don't like that. It's not to shame you, it's to point you to a better well. That well is found in the indwelling well he's talking about of a relationship with Jesus. How do I do that? How do I pick that up? Simply, it's a few things. It's honest prayers. When I understand, when Jesus exposes in my heart the thing that I've been running to, and I realize, man, I'm just trying to be accepted by somebody. Instead of picking up the bucket again, I can set him down and be like, God, help me receive your love. God, help me know that you love me. God, I thank you that I'm accepted in you. And it's an open-handed, bucketless approach to quiet your soul and to ask God to fill the need in your heart. He offers you the same thing he offered this woman, a well within you that never runs dry. He uses that same verbiage later in John to talk about the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. He's like, I'm going to put a well within you, that God who dwells in you could give you hope, could give you life, could give you peace and peace of mind. There's a well within that never runs dry. It is the message of the gospel. It is the message of Jesus. And so 3 simple things before we go. The first one is this: name your bucket. What is your bucket? And if you say that you don't have a bucket, it's probably a bucket called lack of self-awareness. Maybe pride. We've all got one. What's the thing you run to? Okay? Name your bucket. And then this week, have an honest conversation with God about it. Honest, hey, I got this habit in my life that I'm running to. I got some unwanted behavior that I'm not proud of. I got things going on that if really everybody knew, I'd probably be ashamed of. Jesus says, show me your bucket. He might be telling you this morning, hey, show me your credit card statement. Show me your search history. That's not the thing. It's, well, okay, that's my bucket. God, why am I going there? Let me set the bucket down for a minute. Why am I going there? And this morning, Jesus wants you to, 1, name your bucket. 2, start a conversation with Jesus about it. And God will speak to you in that conversation through prayer, through the Bible, through a friend. Have an honest conversation with a real person that really loves you. And the third one is this: my challenge would be the same thing to do this woman did, is this week, set the bucket down. We talk about finding and following Jesus, looking at like a lot of things around here. Different angle every week on this series. But finding and following Jesus for this woman looks the same as it looks for you and I. When you find and follow Jesus, you take the things that I've been using to satisfy the needs of my heart, and I make the decision to drop the bucket. North Point, I want to close with just a couple of things. Actually, I'm going to pray real quick. The thing I'm supposed to say right now is connection cards, giving in the back, boxes. You guys all know that stuff. I just want to take a minute and pray. After our service ends, if you've got a couple things, if you've got something going on and you want to put it on a connection card, you can drop that in the back. We would love to reach out to you and pray with you this week. After the service ends and you're like, there's some Sundays where you're like, you just went to church, and there's some Sundays where you're like, that dude just read my mail. If you need to pray with someone after our services here at Nixa Republic, we have a prayer team at the end of our services. We would love to pray with you. We would love to pray with you and help you drop the bucket. And if you need that, you just need to like talk to somebody and pray with someone, we would love to do that with you. We'll have a team at the front of our services after we dismiss. We'll be here for you. But before we go, I just want to pray over you. North Point, would you guys stand? We're going to dismiss here just momentarily. We'll stand on, we pray. Here, Nixa Republic. God, I thank you for this story. God, I thank you that you met this woman at a well in the middle of nowhere, and you wrote it down so that we could meet you at our well in our moment. God, I just sense that even this morning, there's people here in Springfield, Republic, and Nixa. I know not every message for everybody, but I know this is for somebody. God, I pray that this week, God, that even in this moment, you would help people have an interaction with you in this moment where they would set the bucket down. God, that they would learn to go to you for the well, that this would be a moment in their life where they say, that was that day that I put my bucket down and I really got serious about following Jesus. God, I pray for your church this week. God, if we gathered here, God, and we spent time together, God, to gather assemble as the church, Lord, help us this week to be the church in our community. Help us be people that set our buckets down, that find our satisfaction in you. And God, I pray for this city. God, I pray for every broken person in this community is holding a bucket that only you can satisfy. God, I pray that North Pointers would be the people that lead people to Jesus, that we would be the Samaritan running back to our own sin cities saying, God knew everything about me and he loved me anyway. God, I pray that there would be a contagious love of God that spreads in the city through the vehicle of North Point in this season. We ask these things in your name. Amen. North Point, we love you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.